What's going on, guys? This is Martyrs Brigade 99 coming to you once again with another session of Dark Souls commentary. Alright guys, so this will be the second edition of the Battle of the Build series. First and foremost, I'd like to offer a thanks and shout out to MrIwont4get's for showing off his off-branding build. Now, I will put the link to both builds in the description box. He is a soul level 125 with 45 in vitality, 14 attunement, 38 endurance, 27 strength, 14 dexterity, and 50 faith. Now, some of the benefits. Number one, he has 3 attunement slots, with the 14 attunement. So in this case, he uses DMB 3, obviously, Great Sword, Grave Lord, Great Sword Dance, and Wrath of the Gods, which is good. Some people may want to use perhaps 2 stacks of Wrath of Gods. Some people may want to use the DMB 3, Wrath of the Gods, and Great Magic Barrier, right? Because there's a lot of casters, there's a lot of buff builds out there. So he has some options, even though he's limited to 3 attunement slots. 2 of the biggest benefits to his build, based upon my experiences with fighting in this series. Number one, the damage output, right? I don't think I need to go into any details as far as that. He has 27 in strength, right? And when he two-hands the hand axe, he basically gets maximum damage output, right? And like I said before, he said that with the buff weapon, his AR exceeds 800. So when we were going through these series of duels, he told me, he said, dude, I mean, each hit that I inflict, it takes away 460 health points, right? And if I just so happen to get you on a roll catch, that's 580. And that's not even counting Wog, right? With 50 and faith, a Wog would hurt. Now, luckily in this particular series, I think I may have gotten caught with Wog maybe once or twice. And I mean, and that's between like, I don't know, hour and a half worth of duels. Because now, to be fair, we had a lot of duels. Like I said before, like an hour to an hour and a half's worth. And I just decided to go ahead and clip out the first 15. So this is basically the first 14 or 15 duels in that series. But I tried everything. Ranged attacks, you guys will see that I used ranged attacks. I used Leo Ring for maybe 1 or 2 duels. I used Darkwood Grain Ring, obviously, right, for the iframes. I used my strength build. I wanted to do whatever I could to try to counter his build. And we'll talk about perhaps some ways to counter buff builds or a build like his later on in the video. So as I stated before, one of the main reasons is having an AR that exceeds 800. Extremely dangerous. Another benefit to his build is, and I noticed this during the course of our duels, he has like 78 poise, right? So although he only has 1424 and health points, he has extremely high poise. I mean, he can even tank a Zweihander, one Zweihander hit. And I think like the idea behind this build is, well, like a lot of people who have a lot of poise, well, you know what, with my weapon that has an AR that exceeds 800, I'm willing to trade off. So if you see my little peon hand axe and you think I'm not going to do anything, or you think you're going to stagger me, or you think you're going to out damage me, let's just go ahead and try. Right? So I was extremely passive in this series because, like I said before, if anything happens and he just caught me with a hit, 460 damage. If I rolled at the wrong time, 580 damage. Right? So it's not really in your best interest as a player to try to go toe to toe, obviously. It's also not really in your best interest to be careless, right? Because if you try to BS him and he just so happened to unlock and you don't catch him, he could hit you twice. One, perhaps if you have enough poise to poise through it. The second, if you don't have enough poise, he's going to stagger you, and he may hit you with the third. And at least in my case, that would be over 1600 damage, right? Because my particular build has 45 in vitality, and with the FAP ring, I think that gives me like 1708. So he basically 3 to 4 shots me every time. Now, keep in mind, if I ran into this guy like in a township or the burg, obviously I wouldn't be, you know, fighting this guy the way that I am. But for the purposes of this video, right, it would be very boring for me to go ahead and run around for 1 minute and then engage. Right, so that's the only reason why I'm being, you know, a little more aggressive than I normally would be. So those are the two strengths, two of the main strengths: high AR, high poise. Some of the downsides, the only two downsides that I can think of is perhaps having such low health points. You know, he has 1424, and perhaps using the hand axe because he has pretty short range. But again, despite his range being low, if he catches you with a hit, it doesn't matter. That AR that exceeds 800, it's going to be a wrap. In the health points, you know, he stays at 125. He doesn't go to 135 because he's trying to build the perfect build. He stays at 125. So he made sacrifices, and in this case, he sacrificed his vitality. But despite sacrificing his vitality, he's still good to go. 3 attunement slots. He has the options for 2 stacks of Wrath of the Gods with 50 faith. In addition to that, he's using a weapon that swings fast and has an AR of over 800 with a buffed weapon. So there's some risks and there's some rewards. Now let's talk about some ways to counter his build. Now again, you know, I think I fought this guy for probably about an hour and a half, and these are just the first 14 or 15 fights. And I tried a few things. What I would say is the most effective ways to combat his build or something similar, any buff build. Number one, I would say the most effective way is probably to use Great Magic Barrier. And the reason why I say that is because, you know, these buffs have magic, they have a magic element to it. You know, just because it's faith, there's still some scaling that goes with it, right? And Great Magic Barrier will kill that. Now, obviously, it won't kill the pure physical element. So with him having 28 in strength or 27 in strength, and he two-handing the weapon, he will still get the, you know, the maximum benefit from the hand axe. But at least it won't be as damaging as, you know, a weapon with a full 800 AR. So I would say utilizing the Great Magic Barrier. Now, if you were a pure physical build, you know, like I'm showcasing, I would say just do as I'm doing, you know, flip spear, you know, use any kind of weapon and ring combination that could outrange and possibly hit with similar damage. One suggestion I would have is probably the halberd and Leo ring. Now, I wouldn't suggest for you to medium roll with his build, and the reason why is because I tried that on a few occasions, and what I found is as he has high poise and he's moving fast, he will just use his speed and his poise to an advantage, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. So basically, in a lot of instances when I was medium rolling against him, I noticed that he would basically just run me down. Because medium rolling, like, I can't roll forever, right? If I try to trade with him, he's going to out damage me, so he doesn't really care about trades. And he basically gets the full benefit. He gets the full benefit. So trying to medium roll, even if you use like an ultra great sword or a great hammer or one of the big axes, he's going to win the trades because he has more than 76 poise. So I would say trying to outrange him, use a fast swinging weapon like I'm using, a katana. And as a matter of fact, I would say this is probably one of the best weapons to fight against him, because with the katana having such a fast recovery, I can just, you know, hit flip, hit flip, hit flip, or or I can swing block, swing block, swing block. So a ranged weapon, a katana, Leo ring, with a halberd, great magic barrier. I think those are the best ways to fight against these buff builds. Now, another option that I tried, but it wasn't as successful as I thought. I used on my strength build, I pulled out the Havel shield, right? I used it in the right hand, and I used the buff that came with the Havel shield. Now, the thing with that is, even though his weapon will ricochet, right? Even though the weapon will ricochet, I still take the damage, right? So after the ricochet, again, he has 78 poise. So he can just poise through whatever I'm doing and get the R1 spamming again. So I think this is really an effective build that's especially designed for fighting multiple players. You have high poise, just in case guys, they see you and they're like, what is this peon weapon guy going to do? And he shows them what he's going to do, right? Because he has that, again, he has that weapon damage that exceeds 800 AR. So you can't take a build like this for granted, right? And that's even with you guys that like to poise BS, right? Because in some instances, I even try that. I'm like, you know what? I'm just getting ready to BS fish this guy to death. Well, MrIwont4get is not a new player, right? So he doesn't always stay locked on, and you can always tell whether a person is staying locked on or not, right? Because when they're swinging, their characters, turns to the extreme right or the extreme left. And when you notice that, I don't really think it's a good idea to try to BS fish, especially when they have an AR that exceeds 800, right? So those are the strengths that I see, as well as the weaknesses that I noticed when I was fighting against him. And those are the few suggestions that I have in trying to combat a build like his, high poise, high damaging. In this case, once again, use Great Magic Barrier. I think that is probably the best way. But everyone is not rocking, enough faith to use Great Magic Barrier. So, in the event that you don't, use ranged weapons, right? Because you can't use Black Flame. He'll poise through that. So that's not really a viable option. So just outrange him. Use Darkwood Grain Ring and a spear, any kind of spear. Now, you may run into an issue where he may poise through your spear, right? Because he can actually tank two spear hits and trade off, and he'll win. So you really have to be careful, and you don't want to get caught on a roll, because like I said before, he'll hit you for, well, at least in my case with my armor selection, he inflicted 580 damage. Now, enough about his build. I think we went through the pros and cons and ways to possibly counter it. My build, I'm just using a standard dex build. Some people would consider it to be a quality build. I basically have 45 in vitality, base attunement, 57 in endurance, 28 strength, and 40 in dexterity. Why do I call it a dexterity? Because technically the Murakumo is a dexterity weapon, right? So the 28 and strength allows me to one-hand wield the heaviest dexterity weapon, right? So we're not going to go ahead and go over semantics on whether it's a dex, whether it's a quality. My quality, I consider a 40-40 a quality. Even some may consider a 28-40 a quality. But at the end of the day, you get the benefit with this particular build of using a wide selection of weapons, right? Most weapons you can one hand. In some cases you may have to only use them two hand, obviously with the weapons wherein you don't meet the minimum strength requirement. And another benefit with having 57 in endurance, I get to switch up with a lot of armor selections. Right now, the downside to my build, I don't have any attunement slots. If you just one of those pros who need a Black Flame, you might want to invest 2 points into attunement so that you can have 1 slot for Black Flame or Great Combustion. Other people, they may go 28-45 so they can have max casting. Me, I have caster builds for that. This is not a build that's, intended for castings. So this is just pure physical, right? I want it pure physical with the option to use a wide variety of armor types and weapon combinations. So I hope you guys enjoyed this second edition of the series. And hey, until next time, Martyr's Brigade is